We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the 4 to 7 podcast on the Ascension Podcast Network. I'm Chris. He is Jerry. And we are back for our variety segment portion of the program. So got a few miscellaneous topics lined up for tonight. We're gonna start with the quarterly poll for MLB with Memorial Day weekend just passing. I know Jerry drank like 5,000 beers, so we roughly 5,000 beers. So it's definitely good to have you alive and well on the show this evening. But yeah, they always say Memorial Day weekend, quarterly poll, or, it's been like 55-ish games. So, I guess like a third, more like the thirdly poll, I guess you could say, into the season. So it's a good point to kind of like take a step back, see who is in the mix as far as playoff contention goes, and who we think will still be in the mix, in a few months come September and October. So yeah, let's get into it. I guess, we can start, in the American League, I guess. I don't think we really need to spend too much time on like the Yankees or like the Tigers, because I feel like, those are two teams that I think, you can pretty confidently say, barring something crazy, unforeseen, those are teams you definitely expect
you can stamp that
to be there and pencil them in. But after that, it gets pretty interesting. You got the Seattle Mariners currently leading the AL West by a half a game over the Houston Astros, who are also currently holding a wild card spot. Right now, all three of the wild card teams are 30-25. The Guardians, Astros, and Twins, and then the Mariners are 30-24. So there's a half a game. They're playing right now too, I believe. They are not playing right now. That was a mistake.
They got smoked. Seattle got smoked by the Nats. Wow.
Oh yeah, they lost 9-0 today. So that lead has actually shrunk. They're actually leading by a little bit more. But nonetheless, Mariners currently leading the AL West. Yeah, and then you got the Guardians, Astros, and Twins are right there. And then you also got the Kansas City Royals and Tampa Bay Rays, a game and 2 games back, respectively. It seems right now that the Rays are kind of the biggest threat, I guess, in the AL East. You got the Blue Jays, who are also right there. Most of these teams really are kind of, right there. Like only, really only, you got like the Rangers, who are 4 games out. Boston and the Angels are 4.5 games out. Then you get kind of the drop off at the bottom with like the A's, the Orioles, and White Sox. But yeah, I mean, as far as these teams that are in it right now, how do you feel? Like, I do think the Guardians will be, in the playoffs again. And I think that, it'll probably be one of the Twins or the Royals who get in. And then I think, and I think the Astros, I think that there's a good chance the Astros get back in. Well, they didn't miss the playoffs last year, but yeah, I think the Astros will be in it until they're not.
The reason I elicited the ooh before was Mark Leiter Jr. is going to close this game for the Yankees.
Oh.
And literally got a first pitch out. Joe Adele smoked one right at Peraza and caught it, and he's 0-2 on Taylor Ward right now.
Okay.
So, maybe they're doing this by design. You guys are off tomorrow, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're off. Yeah, we're off tomorrow. So
might be by design.
Yeah. So give Weaver a solid. give Weaver. Yeah, I don't know about that first pitch to Taylor Ward. That looked like a ball, but they call those strikes, so I'm not going to complain.
That's kind of what Mendoza did today, which after Canning got pulled, Brandon Waddell came in and threw 5 innings. And so I think Stanek pitched the 9th, and that was it. So basically everyone else got today and tomorrow off going into the Rockies series, which was sorely needed.
Yeah.
So interesting to note with the Mariners, I feel like we've been kind of saying about them for the past few years is like, okay, you got Julio Rodriguez. That's nice. Are you going to get him any protection? And Cal Raleigh's kind of become that. And
yeah.
I mean, he's a good running mate. They traded for Arozarena last year. I don't think he's quite been the Arozarena of Tampa, which
no
may not be entirely his fault because Seattle is one of the more run-suppressing environments. They got J.P. Crawford back, and he's going to be his usual on-base production type guy, but he's not going to slug a ton. But they were hitting quite a bit over the first month and a half, and everyone's like, this can't hold up, can it? And it does not appear to be holding up. Now, the good news for Seattle is the pitching has been there, even though despite the fact that Logan Gilbert's been on the IL for a minute, and George Kirby just made his first start of the season this week. So they've been holding, and Bryce Miller hasn't been totally right.
Yeah, Brian Woo's been killing it.
He's had the star turn this year. That's been big. And
Luis Castillo is doing, he's doing his thing.
Mm-hmm. It's also one of the more underrated funny moments of the year was about a week or two ago, just in the middle of one night. And this might have been, I don't know, right around this time. We're past midnight right now, but all of a sudden it just comes out. The Mariners have traded Luis Castillo to Baltimore. Everyone's like, oh, wow. The Orioles.
Oh, yeah. Luis Castillo.
Yeah. It's like, you guys didn't know they had another one, did you? We're like, nope, sure didn't.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I saw that too, and I was like, did Luis Castillo have a middle initial this whole time, and he was just withholding it from us, or why would the Orioles make this trade? They're already kind of dead. Why would the Mariners make this trade? They're first in the division. They also gave up a fuck ton to get him, and then it's like, oh no, it's like some minor league motherfucker.
It's like, did they get Jackson Holiday for cash consideration?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Seattle, it's going to be, are they going to have enough offense? That's kind of been the story of this decade for them. Is they've had the arms, they've developed them well. Julio's been great. Cal Raleigh is turning into a legitimately. You might be able to name 5 catchers better than Cal Raleigh right now in total, which is good. Now you got 2, but 2 bats don't make a lineup.
Yeah.
And they've got a great closer. I think the stat I saw might have been yesterday was Munoz hasn't given up an earned run yet this year. So he's fantastic.
He has a 0.00 ERA.
So they've got that side of the ball taken care of, but you got to put up more than one.
Yeah, you can't win every game 1-0.
The Astros are just continuing to hit, even though the Jose Altuve outfield experiment is still happening.
Yeah, I don't understand why that is still happening. The Astros are actually going to be in Pittsburgh next week. I might have to go to one of those games to see this experiment for myself.
I just picture Chris is going to be like the heckler from Happy Gilmore. Jose, you suck, you jackass.
It wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time I've done something like that. I remember a couple years ago the Astros played in Pittsburgh, and I went with my mom. We got seats, pretty good seats, kind of behind the Astros dugout, and I saw Jose Altuve getting on an iPad, and I was like, "What's he doing? He's cheating!" Just
listen. If I'm in a game and that team has a member of the 2015 Royals on them, I'm heckling them. It's the least I'm owed.
Yeah.
But the Astros are producing. Isaac Paredes is slugging like we thought he would. Jake Myers has 1.5 WAR already. That's crazy. Jeremy Pena's turned into 2022 Jeremy Pena again.
Yeah,
That's been big.
2022 playoff Jeremy Pena.
Yeah. Christian first base for the Astros might just
And
be
the
cursed.
Yankees win on a very questionable called strike 3.
Yeah, Logan O'Hoppe was not happy about that.
No, yeah, he looked pissed. I mean, he started arguing right away. I mean,
and then he was just like, you know what, forget it.
Yeah. No, that was pretty bad. I mean, it was a nice frame job by is that a Scara? That was a pretty good frame job, but definitely not a strike. But we will take it. A sweep for the Yankees.
The big thing with the Astros has been Framber Valdez. He's been his usual self. Hunter Brown's really elevated this year, which they needed. Because Christian Javier is going to be out. I think until at least the All-Star break, might be longer. There's somebody that they're definitely not going to have this year through Tommy John, and it's escaping me. Spencer Arrighetti, I think, is going to be out for another month because he has, I think, a broken hand. Yeah. They just lost Ronel Blanco. I know that. I saw that today. And then they're kind of just patching the rotation behind Valdez and Brown, but it's enough right now. I mean, and Josh Hader is who he is. He's been great. So it's just one of those things that I think we learned this from last year. I think last year the Astros were 10 back, and I think caught Seattle by the break is
they did.
You have to give them the double tap. They're not dead until the certificate says they're dead.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not dead till the autopsy comes back, and we are far from that point now. So I would say, I mean, as far as the AL West goes, I mean, Seattle might be able to hold on for a wild card spot, but I think it's kind of only a matter of time before Houston takes over first place in the division and probably runs away with it. If we're being honest, it just seems like the brand of baseball they play is a lot more sustainable than the Mariners. Like, no disrespect to the Mariners, and they have a pretty solid squad too. It just the Astros have been doing this, and it's like, also not to mention Jordan Alvarez is having like a pretty bad year so far. Like,
he's out right now.
Yeah, he has negative 0.3 WAR, and he's only hit he's only played in like 29 games, but he's only hit 3 home runs in those games, and he's definitely even if he only played in 29 games, I think you would probably expect that he would have a lot more than 3 home runs at this point.
Yeah, so this isn't even a fully functional Astros lineup. I mean, this is the Astros operating at 80%, and they're still doing this. The Rays have the hitting. Junior Caminero is starting to round into form. Actually, they don't have nearly as much hitting as I thought. Yandy Diaz might be starting to show his age. Brandon Lau kind of is who he is. They've gotten a nice breakout from Jonathan Aranda, and that'll help. But I think the problem for the Rays is that they've always been built on having for so long with the Rays, it was, you're not going to score on us, and we're going to score enough. Well, they just don't really have
the arms right now. They don't really have the pitching to back that up at the moment.
Yeah, I think they keep waiting for Taj Bradley to get there, and some nights it's there, and then there's too many nights where it's not. And that's kind of, they're waiting for Shane McClanahan to get back. Shane Baz just has not put it together yet. Drew Rasmussen looks good, but they just don't have the full complement of a rotation the way they almost always do, and that's what's hurting them right now. I don't think they have the staying power to stay in this wild card race. I think Kansas City does. They're going to get Cole Reagans back here shortly.
Yeah.
The big question for the Twins is they have 3 tremendous players who can lead a team and can contribute on both sides of the ball. The question is whether they're going to stay healthy. And I'm not even saying this about Pablo Lopez or Joe Ryan. If Buxton, Lewis, and Correa stay healthy, the Twins have a shot. If they miss
Correa has his health issues too. It's been well documented.
If they miss time, they're in trouble. If they play, they'll be there. We've seen this with them. So
Harrison Bader's been having a pretty good year too.
doesn't surprise me.
And then and then there's also you also got Royce Lewis, who just can't seem to stay healthy. And it seems like Brooks Lee is kind of taking his spot as the as a starting third baseman.
The one wild card there for Minnesota is they have a top 20 prospect in Emmanuel Rodriguez, who he's supposed to be able to do it all. I think they want to see him put up a little bit more at AAA before they feel comfortable making that move. But he could be one of those rookies that changes a race. I think he's got that kind of capability. Cleveland might have it with Travis Bazzana, who was the number 1 pick last year. We might see him. And Kansas City might have it with Jack Caglione, they sent him right to AAA at the outset, at the end of spring training. Usually even the very best picks at least start at AA.
Yeah, they're kind of
AAA.
Yeah, they're kind of fast tracking him,
and he's been raking at AAA as soon as they put him there. There's been talk. There's one Royals fan I know who's pretty connected. That call might be coming this week or at the most in the next 10 days. And if Jack Caglione just hits the ground running in Kansas City the way he has in the minors, well, now you got him and Bobby Witt, and that could change some things. I don't think the Rays have enough pitching to stay in this. I don't think Toronto does either.
Yeah, I would agree.
Texas getting Jacob deGrom just looks like 2021 deGrom again.
He does.
The question is whether they're going to have the offense. They're going to get Corey Seager came back tonight. If Adolis Garcia wants to be 2023 Adolis Garcia again, that would help. Marcus Semien might be finished.
Yeah, he might be cooked. I made the mistake of drafting him in not one but both of my fantasy teams, and I don't even start him ever, and I don't even know if I could trade him because who's going to trade for Marcus Semien?
No. But then you can never let him go because you always have the feeling of the second I let him go, he's going to revert back to 20.
He's going to turn it on, yeah. But
very relatable.
Yeah, I mean, I have other solutions for second base in those leagues. Like one of them, I got Bryce Terang, and the other one I got Bryson Stott. So I got decent replacements for him, but still, I think I drafted him pretty high. He was going in 5th or 6th round or something like that.
I've talked about this with other people. That contract is going to be so interesting to look at when it's done. Because I think
you got a championship.
He was fine the first year. He was great the year they won it, and he was a big reason for it. And then these past 2 years, oof.
Yeah,
but it was worth it, but also was it worth it?
Yeah, it's that classic. I mean, I think if you win a championship, I think you got to say ultimately it was worth it. But yeah, it's definitely one of those.
Ask Nationals fans how they feel about Patrick Corbin.
Yeah,
you get the same answer.
Yeah, it's one of those deals that has the potential to age very poorly. But yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you for the most part. I think that of the teams that are in it now, I could see the Twins and I think the Twins and Mariners fall out of it, and I think that the Astros take over the West. I think that the Royals take a wild card spot, and then I think the other spot, I think the other spot's probably between I would say, I don't know, of all these teams, I think it comes down to who gets hot at the right time. And for some reason, out of these fringe bubble teams, I feel it would be between for that last wild card spot, I could see it being between the Mariners and the Blue Jays. Because I feel if the Blue Jays do get hot, they could be a very good team if they do get hot. But they just haven't really been able to put it together.
It's just the biggest issue for the Blue Jays is just who can you count on in your rotation right now? Kevin Gossman's been fine, but I mean, if he's your one, I don't know if that's going to be enough. Jose Barrios has been a little less than usual, and I think Jose Barrios' ceiling at this point has kind of been realized as a number 3. I don't think he was the one that we thought he was going to be when he came up.
Yeah.
Chris Bassett, take it from experience. You don't want to be counting on Chris Bassett down the stretch. Take it from your boy.
If their starters can get them there, their bullpen isn't too bad.
No, Brendan Little's been fantastic. Jeff Hoffman, surprisingly, has everyone was just waiting for his arm to fall off because of the medical, and he's actually been terrific. Rodriguez has kind of been whatever they've needed him to be. I guess the big disappointment for them has been, I think they thought Bowden Francis was going to take that jump and be a 1 or a 2 based on how good he was last year, and it has swung wildly in the other direction. Especially he's given up 15 home runs already. We're not at June 1st as we say this.
Yeah, same with like Easton Lucas. It's it's swung in the wrong direction for him too.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned him like you were like, man, why can't I think you might have been
that was the
Yankees,
that was the guy. I was like,
out an Easton
get a guy like this, and he stinks.
Yeah, his ERA is almost 7.5
now. It shows how much I know.
It's funny to look back at these things.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, hey, if he could get it together and be the guy who I said he was on that podcast, then maybe there is a world where the Blue Jays sneak in. But I would say like out of all those teams, I feel like the Blue Jays probably because none of these teams like at the fringe of it, none of these teams have like great pitching. As far as like who could be fighting for that last spot, in my opinion. So like I kind of default to the Blue Jays just because like they do have the best lineup and they have pitchers that could be good if they get their shit together.
I was thinking while you were saying that, and I believe the last time the AL East had one team in the playoffs was 2014. This might be that year.
Yeah,
and none of us were expecting that going in.
Yeah, who even was it in 2014? Because I think
Baltimore.
That's right. Baltimore won the AL East. Because I remember Red Sox won the World Series the year before and they fell off. The Yankees missed the playoffs that year. And
14 was the last year for Madden in Tampa, and that fell apart.
Yeah, and then the Blue Jays were still like a year or two away from competing at that point.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be the Central and the West this year in the AL, and that I can't remember the last time it was like that.
Yeah, no, it has. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I'm kind of surprised at how not competitive the AL East has been to this point. But
it's disorienting, honestly.
Yeah, it is quite disorienting. But looking at the National League, so with the National League, most of the teams that are like in the playoffs right now, I feel like most of these teams are going to be in the playoffs. Like Phillies, Cubs, Dodgers. Phillies may not hang on to win the division, but I do think the Phillies will occupy a playoff spot. Same with the Mets. I think Mets and Phillies definitely should both be in the playoffs. Cubs have basically already won the division. Although the St. Louis Cardinals are actually currently in the last wild card spot, and they're only
3 back.
Yeah, they're only 3 back of the Cubs, but I don't know. I just feel like, despite the Cardinals always pulling some devil magic out of their ass and just always having like that prospect or that guy who just comes out of nowhere and like contributes, I just don't think like the Cardinals really have enough to. Now they might be able to make the playoffs, but I don't think they have enough to overtake the Cubs in the Central. even though they're only 3 back now and they're making it interesting. But like the Phillies, Cubs, Dodgers, Mets, and Padres, like I feel like those are all teams that I'm pretty confident will be in the playoffs.
And those were all expected. The two true wild cards in this, as we look right now, are the Cardinals and the Giants. And basically, it comes down to, do we think these guys can keep it up? And you look at the Cardinals, and right now it's basically like they're not even getting a classic Nolan Arenado season. That's not even why they're doing what they're doing. Wilson Contreras has been pretty good, but he's a first baseman now. They're, Ivan Herrera is their main catcher, and he's largely inexperienced.
It seems like just like a quick sidebar, since you mentioned that about Wilson Contreras, it seems like the Cardinals moving on from Paul Goldschmidt and the Yankees picking him up seems like it's worked out well for both parties.
Yeah. I mean, and when Contreras signed that deal, there was talk that might happen eventually. I think this happened a little earlier than they were hoping it would, but I don't know. I mean, I can't say I know the ins and outs of the Cardinals all that well. I don't know if they knew they had Herrera coming, where it was, hey, look, if Contreras just doesn't work out behind the plate, we can always move him to first because he can hit, and we'll just plug this kid in here. I'd have to check with that, but it has looked out for them in that sense where Contreras hits like a first baseman, so it's fine. And Herrera's just kind of been exactly what they've needed. It was weird, like checking his numbers during the Mets series, because I saw his line and I was like, why haven't I heard about him? You go back and look last year, he was hitting over 300 last year in a non-small amount. Like he played a healthy number of games last year and hit over 300. Why is nobody talking about this? But the big thing for the Cardinals is I just don't know about that rotation. Matthew Liberatore has been fantastic. He's starting to look like the guy that they traded Randy Arozarena for. I think if they had gotten this sooner, maybe they wouldn't be getting killed for that deal the way they have. But better late than never. But Eric Fetty's been okay. Like he's pretty much been the pitcher they traded for. He's a 3. He's fine.
Yeah.
Sonny Gray might be starting to show his age a little bit. Andre Palante is a guy. Miles Michaelis at this point is a guy. They have a great closer in Ryan Helsley.
Yeah. I mean, they are holding their own, but they got your boy Phil Maton.
They do, and he's been pretty good. I think the big tell is going to be is if they trade Helsley, then that's their front office saying, yeah, we don't think they're going to do anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm
if
saying.
They keep him, then
I don't know. I feel like the Cardinals, they don't really make like the big splash moves at the deadline. I feel like they like if they're adding, it's like they're subtly adding, or if they're selling, they're selling. So
yeah.
But it seems like they kind of just stand pat, because I feel like if there was a time for them to sell, it would have been last year.
Well, kind of wish they hadn't.
Yeah.
The Giants are interesting because Jung Ho Lee was one of the big rookies going into last year, and then he got hurt early. He was off to a great start. His numbers have kind of cooled off a little bit, but still he's been almost a 2-win player, and here we are on the edge of June. Helio Ramos has just kept it going from last year. He's been great. Matt Chapman's been Matt Chapman. Actually, might even be. This might be as good as he's been.
Yeah, I think Matt Chapman might be like exceeding expectations. There was a stretch. Yeah, there was that stretch where Wilmer Flores was like the best player in baseball.
Listen, you're not going to tell me any different.
Yeah.
They're getting Tyler Fitzgerald back, who he didn't get the buzz that from that team that Helio Ramos got as a rookie last year, because he was someone that they had talked about for a long time. But Tyler Fitzgerald, quietly just a very solid player that kind of fits well for them. And they've done all this with the fact that Willie Adames is hitting 208 and his OBP is under 300 and his slugging is under 350.
Yeah, Willie Adames actually having a pretty down year for his standards.
which probably was to be expected given he was going from Milwaukee to San Francisco. But like, I don't think we thought it'd be this.
No, not at all. And then, I mean, the pitching's been great. Like,
Logan Webb's been great.
Yeah, Logan Webb's been Logan Webb.
Robbie Ray sneakily getting Cy Young consideration.
Yeah, and deservedly so. And I mean, like, I know win-loss is like, a pretty flawed stat for a pitcher, but he is 7-0.
And Logan Webb's 5-5, but it's like the numbers are there.
I mean, that also kind of shows like the flawed nature of it. But then like Landon Roop is like a perfectly good number 3 starter, and I mean, like Justin Verlander's the 4th starter. You could do a lot worse than that.
Yeah, even accepting that you're gonna like you're not gonna get 2017 Verlander. It's like if you're perfectly fine with him being 42-year-old Justin Verlander, you'll be all right.
Yeah, and then pretty much every pitcher in their bullpen's been really good. Probably the worst pitcher in their bullpen is their closer Ryan Walker.
And this is with them rehabilitating Camilo Doval.
Yeah, so I think it'll be an interesting race between the Giants and the Cardinals for that last spot. I mean, the Brewers are also kind of right there. They're only 3.5 back of that last spot, and like the Reds are only 4.5. Diamondbacks, we kind of touched on the Diamondbacks, and the Braves are right there too. So you can never count the Braves out. Obviously,
what we said about the Astros applies to the Braves. Like,
everything we said about the Astros applies to the Braves. You got to wait for the death certificate, autopsy, funeral, all that stuff. The Reds, I just don't see them. I just don't see them doing it until they prove otherwise. I think the Giants are going to take this last spot over the Cardinals.
Ooh. I will say the one thing about the Brewers, like they've punched above their weight as they usually do. But they had this excellent rookie pitcher named Logan Henderson. He's been terrific. He's got a 1.71 ERA. He's 3-0. They just demoted him. And there's been no explanation for why. Like, I realize they're about to get Brandon Woodruff back, so maybe there wouldn't have been room for him. And Freddie Peralta is going to occupy a spot. They got to handle that. And I think there's a few guys that they're trying to work in. Like they traded for Quinn Priester, I think, trying to rehabilitate his career. They have another rookie named Chad Patrick who's been really good. Jose Quintana's continued to look like the Jose Quintana from the second half of last year. So maybe it was look, somebody was just going to,
someone had to take the fall.
Yeah, like the musical chairs was going to stop, and Logan Henderson was the guy.
He had the smallest sample size, so they kind of just had to send him.
Yeah, but that to me, I was like, that's weird.
Yeah, no, that is kind of strange. But yeah, no, I mean that's baseball. There's only so many. Only so many roster spots, only so many spots in a rotation. So at some point something's got to give. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he was the guy who got the axe.
Oh man, 4 more months. This is going to be so stressful. But
I know.
I would sign up for this. I would happily sign up for this.
It's better. It's better than the alternative. It's better than the season.
I've seen so many of them.
Yeah, it's better than the season being over at Memorial Day. So, yeah, you pick your battles, I guess. It's like what we were talking about with playoff hockey. It's always more fun to watch when your team's not in it, even though you'd rather your team be in it.
I don't know. In playoff baseball, I feel like it's the inverse. Like you always remember the seasons. Your team's good. I don't know how. I don't say this out of jealousy or anything like that. I don't know if it's different for a team that's always in it, but for me, it's like I could always remember the years when the Mets were in it or in the mix.
Yeah, no,
I've never wasn't always like that.
Yeah, I've never really felt that way with baseball. I've never really been like, oh, this is so much more fun to watch when the Yankees are out of it. Like I definitely prefer them to be in it, but yeah, it is kind of the inverse, and yeah, yeah, and as far as like playoff football, all my memories of that are very vivid. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with the quarterly poll. So another 4 months of this, and we'll see how it all shakes out, and see how these takes age. So feel free to clip this portion of the show and tell us how wrong we were in 4 months, and how you could do our jobs better than us. I don't care. Do what you want. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about so the Athletic released the all quarter century team. So it's like the best possible team from 2000 to now 2025. So we're at the quarter century mark. I'm actually pulling up the image of it right now. So here we have the quarter century team. So it is this is from the Athletics, Jason Stark. So according to him, the all quarter century team is Barry Bonds in left field, Mike Trout in center, Aaron Judge right field, Beltre at third base, Derek Jeter at shortstop, Jose Altuve at second, Pujols at first, DH David Ortiz, catcher Yadier Molina, and then starting rotation of Justin Verlander, Clayton Kershaw, Roy Halladay, rest in peace, Max Scherzer, and Randy Johnson. So no, I didn't really go and make my own quarter century team, so I'm not gonna bore you to death with trying to make my own. I think I would just kind of make a few quick notes on a couple things I'd do differently though. I think it's criminal that Alex Rodriguez was left off of this list. I would definitely put Alex Rodriguez at third base over Adrian Beltre. You could maybe even make the case for putting Alex Rodriguez over Jeter at shortstop. I mean, he was a better shortstop, but for the sake of being a Yankee fan, I would make the whole left side of the infield. I'd make it Jeter and A-Rod. Instead of Yadier Molina at catcher, I would do Joe Mauer.
Ooh.
I think he is. I actually looked at it before. Joe Mauer's WAR in his career is like I believe 10 points higher than Molina's. And then I mean, other than that, I don't really have too many qualms with it. Obviously, the outfield is like three of the best players that we'll ever see. I mean, to me, Barry Bonds is the best player. The best baseball player of all time. Mike Trout was on that trajectory until injuries got in the way, and Aaron Judge is like right-handed Barry Bonds. So no qualms with the outfield. And yeah, as far as the starting pitchers go, I really don't have any qualms with that either.
As far as tweaks here, one, I get that David Ortiz should be the DH. I'm fully with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
But Shohei Ohtani has to be on here. So look, it's not even an official thing. So we're just creating a two-way spot here for show. It has to be done. And I get 9 spots and whatever, but he's got to be in there.
Yeah, just put Shohei in the rotation, and he can also hit.
I also
Shohei's the sixth man.
I also did not have Yadier Molina as the catcher. I think the Cardinals always kind of have had favorable treatment in the media and feeding into all that.
And he's like the quintessential Cardinal. Like those best fans in baseball, they love him.
Am I bitter about 2006? You bet your fucking ass I am. I'll make no bones about it. I, however, would have, if you wanted to put Joe Mauer at catcher, I don't disagree. I guess the one hang up would be is that they did move him to first about halfway through, so that does kind of stunt it a little bit. But if you wanted to put him a catcher, I don't have a problem with it. I would put Buster Posey. I think
Okay.
he was great on both sides, and he affected winning. He showed up, and then the Giants started winning World Series when they had never done that in San Francisco. In 2010, when they won it the first time, he's Rookie of the Year. In 2012, when they win it the second time, he's the NL MVP. Like he was, and it's interesting that when you look back at those Giants teams, everyone always talks about it's like, were they really a dynasty? And when you get down to it, everyone points to the pitching. Well, in 2010, Lincecum was their best pitcher. Then in 2012, it was Matt Cain. And then it was Bumgarner for the last one, obviously. When you look at the rest of that lineup, that lineup was always changing.
It was never great. It was a bunch of like Marco Scuderos and
Hunter Pence,
Pablo Sandoval's.
Yeah, like they were all right. He was the one constant source of excellence on that team that never changed.
Yeah, offensively. Yeah, that's fair.
I'm gonna be a hater. Listen, I've never said that I'm not rational. I've never said I'm not a hater. We're staying in New York for the shortstop position. That's all I got to say there.
All right, so I know where you're going with that.
Third base is open to me because if you wanted to say Beltre, I get it. Like it played both sides of the ball really well. I saw Scott Rowland talk because we did talk about this in the Discord, but also just looking at the timeline, we saw this. I saw Scott Rowland talk. Sure, I get that. I saw some Manny Machado shouts. Sure. Same with Nolan Arenado. Same with Jose Ramirez. If you wanted to put him there, I get it. I guess the one thing for me with those last three is their book's not done yet.
Yeah, right? It's far from done.
I think all three of them will be joining Adrian Beltre in the Hall when it's done, but they might surpass him. Beltre never won a World Series. Those three might. We don't know. I also may or may not have Vlad Guerrero Sr. in right field. I may or may not have done that. I can feel the tomatoes being thrown. I can feel the tomatoes being thrown at me through the screen. I am Guile from the Street Fighter cartoons.
Not confirming or denying.
Your boos mean nothing to me. I see what makes you people cheer. My one hang up, and this was also something that came up in the catcher discussion because people mentioned Pudge, and I get it because he was excellent in the 2000s. I would take Randy Johnson out of the rotation only because, and I know this is going to sound stupid, because he did win Cy Youngs in 2000 through 2002, but I view him as a 90s guy. I know that sounds dumb, but to me, he's the, like, his very best was the 90s, as dumb as that sounds. Verlander, Scherzer, Kershaw, and Halladay all should be there. I have no qualms there. And I would put Jake in. And then
so obviously you take out Randy Johnson and put in DeGrom.
Mm-hmm. And then closer obviously is easy. That's Rivera.
Yeah. I think I think that's just like known, so they just didn't even bother to create
whoever you think second is, like it's not close. So
I mean second, it could be for 2000s, I guess, like Eric Gagne comes to mind.
Kimbrel.
Yeah, Craig Kimbrel. Clase is working his way into the conversation.
By the way, did the Yankees break him?
Yeah. Great question. They very well might have.
I mean, and I don't know if it's an overuse thing. It may have. I know, he's been their primary closer pretty much because I think he was suspended during the COVID year because that was the Kluber trade. Yeah, and I think ever since he came back from that suspension, like he's been their guy, and they've always gone to him. So maybe it's just burnout, but
yeah.
This time last year, everybody was in agreement. He's the best, and it's not close.
Yeah, and people were like comparing him to Mariano like a year ago.
People were legitimately putting him up against Skubal in the Cy race, which I could never bring myself to it, but
yeah,
I could see why other people would. But yeah, and here we are a year later, and I think his ERA is still well over 5.
Yeah. Class A is at like 4.5 now for this season.
Oh, okay. So he actually did. Okay, better than I was expecting.
Yeah, I think the beginning. I think he's still like kind of bouncing back from like the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I there's not too much it tells you how good Pujols was that I saw that at first base and I just
there's no nobody's contesting that.
Even with Miggy. And everyone agrees how good Miggy is, and it's just Pujols clears.
Well, Miggy also like, well, I guess Pujols did too, but they also were outfielders, like,
and third baseman.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you're not going to put them at third. You're not putting them over the guys that could play third well. And it's, well, you can't shove out any of the other guys in the outfield. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, so there you have it. That's the that's the quarter century team. Then those are the things we would change. If there's anything you guys would change, please comment, let us know. We're here for the conversation. So if there's anything you would change, anyone that we're missing, I'd love to hear it.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, no, that is indeed what we're here for. And then rounding things out, we're not going to spend too much time on this, but the College World Series tournament is about to start this weekend. I'd say if you're tired of, if the Knicks get eliminated and you don't want to watch a fucking NBA Finals between the Pacers and the Thunder, because who gives a fuck about either of those places, tune into some college baseball. It's always a very fun, very chaotic tournament,
especially this weekend.
Yeah, especially like the opening weekend. It's kind of like I feel like it's kind of comparable to like, it's kind of comparable to like the opening of like March Madness,
because there's guaranteed there will be, because they set these up into groups of 4. At least 1 4 seed is going to come out of a region that nobody saw coming.
Yeah,
one of the big boys is going to host a regional and not even going to get out of their own regional. There's always a crazy comeback. There's always a school that you've never heard of. I mean, not for me. I have to know who these schools are, but like I'm looking at the bracket right now, and Texas's regional has the University of Texas at San Antonio and Houston Baptist in it. And there are people that are listening to this right now that didn't know Houston Baptist existed until I said it. A school like that might pop. I remember Stony Brook went to the College World Series. I want to say in like 2012, 2013, right in that time. So like every once in a while you see one. Coastal Carolina won it not that long ago. So it's possible. You see one of those, you'll also, if you're longing for the old days of when pitchers used to just have to throw 150 pitches till their arm fell off, then boy is the NCAA baseball tournament for you.
Yeah, if you feel like today's pitchers are soft because they don't throw 9 innings until their arms fall off. But definitely the College World Series is good for that. Even their relievers will throw like 50 pitches. So yeah,
I wonder Paul Skeens got to hear from college.
Yeah, especially because he was in those tournaments, so they were they were riding him. Speaking of Paul Skeens, so many people I know have said that the Pirates are going to win the World Series this year, but we never said which Pirates or which World Series. The East Carolina Pirates are going all the way.
That's possible. That is, they do have a good baseball program. I will attest to that. They are.
That's my blind, little to no research pick. There also should be a lot of what do you call it? There should be a lot of like MLB prospects that are going to be getting drafted like in about a month from now that you can watch in the tournament as well. So
I will say East Carolina does have a tough regional. They have to go to Coastal Carolina for theirs. And Florida's also in their regional. And Florida always has major league talent. So that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. Could get some good odds, though, I'm sure.
Also, it is very funny to me that Dallas Baptist is always a team that's in this. They are Division II in literally everything but baseball. They chose to go up for baseball. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I respect it. Yeah, I mean, certain schools, I guess, are just baseball schools.
It is one of the things that's on my bucket list that I do eventually want to go to a College World Series for the whole thing. My good friend Mike Vamosi, who I met working at Florida Tech, lives in Omaha, grew up there, and he clears out his work schedule. He always accrues enough time, always schedules it in advance, and he is there for everything every year. He's there for the pregame. Like, he can tell you about which fan bases he enjoys showing up, which ones he dreads. There's been that thing with the Jello shot challenge in recent years that's gone viral on social media. I can always talk to him about that. But
I'm sure he can't stand A&M fans.
Actually, I'll tell you who he does. He hates the most: Vanderbilt, because of one guy, the Whistler.
Oh,
if you watch a Vanderbilt game, in 2 minutes who it is.
The whistles go woo.
Oh, they cannot stand that guy. But A&M is up there. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe I think they missed the tournament this year.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the bracket now, and it looks like they're out of it.
They got swept by Missouri, I believe, at home, and Missouri hadn't won a game in the conference all year. So yeah.
Yeah, so the regionals start this weekend, and then the Super Regionals are the weekend after that, and then College World Series, and then the June 21st is the championship round, which is a best. I think it's all single elimination up until the championship round, right?
So their format's funky. So the regional and super regional are double elimination, and so is the College World Series. You got to lose twice to go out. So,
but you play different teams, right? It's kind of like round robin-y.
Yeah. So if you lose twice this weekend, then you're out. And then next weekend is the super regional. So they for instance, if East Carolina were to come out of their regional this weekend, they would face the winner of Auburn's regional, which is Auburn, NC State, Stetson, and Central Connecticut. And they would face the winner of that, and they would play a best of 3. Winner of that goes to Omaha, and that becomes the round robin-y double elimination until the final, which is another best of 3.
I see. So it's kind of alternating between.
Yeah.
It alternates between round robin, best of 3 series, then round robin, best of 3 series again.
I wasn't a big fan of them going to the best of 3 for the final because that's still a fairly new thing that they've done.
Yeah.
But it does kind of lead to some fun things happening because, you spend so much to get to the final, and then it's, okay, well, do we want to save our best pitcher for game 2? Because if we win game 1, then we've got our best pitcher going in game 2. Or if we lose, then we got to burn him. Well, what if we go to a game 3? Who are we going to have left?
Yeah,
I want to say
it does create. Yeah, it does create a lot of conundrums strategically.
The first or second year of that format, South Carolina was playing UCLA, and UCLA had Garrett Cole and some dude who's getting smoked in Korea. And I believe the dude who's getting smoked in Korea started the last game of that series. And it was a whole thing where it's well, who's UCLA? And they were both, it was okay, those guys are going to go top 3 in the draft. That's just understood.
I thought he was getting smoked in Mexico.
Oh, no, he's back in Korea now.
Oh, okay.
And it was
Terry,
okay.
that makes it fucking worse, doesn't it?
Well, it's just weird that only 20 hitters in the world could hit him, and they all just happened to keep showing up in Korea.
They all just happen to be his opponents in the
Yeah.
KBO. Is that where he's at?
And I believe, if I read correctly, I think he has like the third or fourth worst ERA in the KBO. I think. I mean, we got the Mets had Brandon Waddell out there relieving today, and he was in the KBO last year.
Yeah, there wasn't a problem for him.
No,
so yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
but,
like I said earlier, best ability is accountability.
Yeah, some people should learn that.
Yeah,
but the whole thing going into that series, because South Carolina was the defending champ, I think, and it was all right. Well, who are they going to use first? How are they going to play this?
Yeah,
and South Carolina was not. Like UCLA was supposed to win that, even with South Carolina being the defending champ. It's like, all right, they're still good, but they're not as good as they were last year. And UCLA's got 2 top 3 picks. They'll walk this. And I think South Carolina, I want to say, beat them 2-0, if I remember correctly. And it was just a whole big thing of how they're going to play this. Didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So it always creates. It always creates some interesting storylines and some good old chaos, even if it doesn't get quite like the mainstream type of headlines that say college football or college basketball get for their playoffs.
And in recent years, there's
the popularity has picked up a little.
And I will say, in recent years, like everyone talks about, it's like, oh, well, the little guys don't have a chance. And that might be true in other sports. Like I said, Coastal Carolina in the last 10 years won the College World Series.
Yeah.
Fresno State won it in 2008, and they were the 4 seed in their own regional. So, like I said, like Stony Brook's gone, California Irvine's gone. Like it seems like pretty frequently in the NCAA baseball tournament, you get one of these out of nowhere stories genuinely, and it makes for great viewing. And again, I'm someone that it's like I enjoy the unpredictability of it, and I realize like, okay, yeah, the quality's not going to be as good as Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with March Madness and the NBA. I know which one's better, but I enjoy the spectacle.
Right? Yeah, it's like you can't really expect it because from college, then there's 3 levels of minor league baseball that they have to get through. So yeah, obviously it's not going to be the same quality product, but like there are little like quirky things that like they'll do in those games that kind of make it fun that you just don't see on the major league level too. Like I feel like there's a lot more I feel like they're a lot more like aggressive on the base pass. Like we mentioned before, they'll run their pitcher into the ground and have them throw like 150 pitches to try and win a game. I feel like there's a lot more like hitting and running too, and just weird like fundamental stuff that they do a little differently.
There was a final. I can't remember if it was the last one before COVID or the first one after, but Arkansas was up 1-0 in the series, and they were up either 1 or 2 in the bottom of the 9th of game 2. 2 out, and it's a pop-up into foul territory on the first base side, and it's one of those, the first baseman, right fielder, and second baseman all go out, and it falls between them, and literally, you could hear the entire stadium. You couldn't hear them say the words, but everyone in that moment went, oh, they're dead. You can't, literally, the title is right there, and they let it fall. It's like, oh, yeah. Well, I know what's about to happen.
Yeah, like
sure enough.
Like Texas Rangers in the 2011 World Series.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Oregon State tied the game, won it in the 10th, and then they won game 3. Yeah, and I don't think game 3 was ever close.
Yeah,
you can't lose that
at that point. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know the YouTube channel Wheels?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, they do really cool like college baseball highlight reels and stuff.
Okay.
So that's definitely a channel worth your time, especially this time of year.
I'm gonna get that queued up for tomorrow.
I'm sure that channel will be pretty lit for for the college tournament and World Series. So shout out to Wheels. But yeah, I think that's pretty much, I think we pretty much covered everything we set out to cover. So thank you again. Thank you again for tuning in. Do you have any final words for the people before we sign off?
And I just want to point out, in case anyone's wondering what I meant by new Jude jinx just dropped, in the Discord earlier this evening, Jude just puts in our baseball channel, Mets fans are running Juan Soto out of town. And I'm just saying, we are a couple days from June as we record this.
Yeah.
Y'all know what happened last year.
Yeah.
Y'all know what happened when someone started talking about June swoons.
Yeah. So Soto might have the best June ever. And we will know you will know who to thank or who to blame depending on your perspective on the matter. But yeah, it's gonna do it for us. Let's go Knicks, let's go Yankees, let's go Mets, and let's go ECU Pirates. And we'll see you next time. Peace.